All right, so for this problem, question number 4, we're going to be taking a look at tabular representation of relations and determining which represents a function. Okay, so question 4 reads, which table could represent a function? So you want to recall that a function is a rule that assigns every input exactly one output. Okay, so that's basically what a function is. Let's make a note of that on the side. So a function assigns every input exactly one output. So if you have a situation where an input is being assigned to two outputs, then that relation is not a function. Okay? You can have a situation where multiple inputs go to one output, that's fine, but every input has to go to exactly one output and no more. Now, there are different ways that a function can be presented as illustrated here in this box. And for each representation, there is a strategy to determine if that particular representation is a function or not. So if you're given a table, you want to focus your attention on the x's. Okay, why is that? Well, because that's the input. All right, look for any table that has repetition in the x's. All right, if there's a repetition in the x's, that's a situation where you have one input going to two different outputs. So that violates the definition of a function. All right, so no repetitions in the x's on the table shows that it's a function. If it's a graph, it has to pass something called the vertical line test. All right, so that vertical line basically ensures that you're mapping exactly one input to the output. So the vertical line has to cut no more than once. Okay, if it cuts the graph more than once, you have a situation where two inputs will be mapped to one output, which violates the definition of a function. When you're given an equation, you want to pay attention to the power of the y variable, the output variable. All right, you want to ensure that there are no absolute values around the y, and it has an odd power. If you have an even power, you have a situation where if you solve for y, you have multiple. You have one input going to multiple outputs. Okay, and that's not acceptable. And then when you're given a map, you just look at the arrows. Make sure, focus your attention on the inputs and make sure that every arrow from an input doesn't split. It doesn't go to multiple outputs, but just goes to exactly one output. Alrighty. So in this particular problem, we are dealing with a tabular representation of functions, we're told here. So we're going to take a look at all the tables and focus our attention on the x's. All right, the x's are the inputs. And then the question is, which of these options, 1, 2, 3, 4, has a repetition in the x's or the inputs? All right, so just remember the x is the input. And then when it goes into the function, it generates h of x, f of x, g of x. Those are the outputs. All right, so let's take a look at option 1. All right, do you notice any repetitions in the x's? So 1, 2, 3, 2. Oh, so 2 is repeated. What does that mean now that we have a repetition in the inputs? You have 2 going to 2 and 2 going to 6. You have the same input going to two different outputs. That is not a function. Okay, remember, one input can go to no more than one output, not a function. We defined it earlier. Every input exactly one output. All right, let me write it in because I think I left it out. Every input is assigned exactly one output. Beautiful. All right, option 2. Let's look at the x's again. 1, 2, 3, 4. No repetitions here, so you're guaranteed that every input goes to exactly one output. This is a check. This is a function. Ladies and gentlemen, the answer to question number 4 is option number 2. Okay, Let's go over the other two options just to make sure that we're not making any mistakes here. If we take a look at option 3, look at the x's. Do you see any repetitions there? Absolutely. 2 is going to 6, and the same input 2 is going to 2. That's unacceptable. So this is not a function. Option 4. Let's look at that. 2, there's only 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh, there are 2 3's. 3 is going to 2, and 3 is going to 6. What is that? That's not a function. A function assigns every input exactly one output. So option 4 is not a function. All right? So we can see for a certainty that the answer is option number 2. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. Don't forget to help support our channel. And if you have any questions about this or any questions on the exam, just put it in the comment section below, and we'll be more than glad to assist you. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Goodbye.